Let's dance. We are going to have 4 movements in this dance. And we begin with the actual sounds that the hummingbird makes. We acknowledge the sounds, and we let me go ahead and switch my camera so I can give you a little more. They kind of make these circles with their wings, these little bitty circles that allow them to stand still in the air. You know how the hummingbird can just be in the air and just be totally still, maybe a little vibration, maybe a little rock and rhythm through their body, but their wings go around in circles like little helicopters, helping them hover and just be totally still in midair. So that's our first movement with the music, is to dance our dance however we dance, and feel safe in our surroundings. You can stay seated or stand up, do whatever you're comfortable with. Dance your dance, but we come into ritual. We are one when we all do the same thing with our hands. We reach each other with the energies in our hands. So just let your little wings round in circles as you dance the first movement. Then in the second movement, we think about their courtship in spirals. I was actually blessed by a beautiful dance of the hummingbirds above my pond at a point in my life where I'd just come out of a near-death experience, and I was on IV antibiotics for 23 days, and my life revolved around getting that IV so that I could survive. And I was leaving one day, and I happened to look out the window at the pond, the rainwater catchment pond, and there were 2 hummingbirds going in spirals, and it looked like they might be going 75 miles an hour. They were amazing the way they could move. And when I was doing this music, I saw that they have 3 toes facing forward and 1 toe facing backward. So I want to feel into those little feet, those little hummingbird feet. And this thing is really complicated. If you try to think about 3 toes facing forward and 1 toe facing backwards. So I had to simplify it into just tuck your pinky. See how my pinky's tucked? If you just tuck your pinky, then you got it. You got the whole 3 forward and 1 backward thing. And then you can spiral together. You can spiral separately. Overlap your spiral. They were kind of like this. So just do little hummingbird feet, feeling on your hands and the spiral. Just think about the hummingbird foot and the spirals in their mating dance. And the second movement, of course, you can watch me and do what I do. You might not be able to see my pinky tuck that well, but you can just do whatever feels right for you too, if you need to. And then, okay, in the third movement, we really feel into evolving with nectar-bearing flowers and pollinating the flowers that only the hummingbird can see, reaching beyond our senses into the world of sensing at a level that only the hummingbirds can see. So we're going to put our hands at our eyes and remind us of the unseen world as we dance, to look with more than our eyes into the unseen world, like the hummingbird does. And then in our Salakil language, the hummingbird's name is Walela. And so we sing to her in the last movement. And she was the first in our teachings to wear the gorget. And I don't know if you can see my gorget. It's a symbol that's very common in our language. The hummingbird wears it on her chest. And since many of you may not have a gorget yet, but I'll be happy to help you make your gorget if you want to. We're going to use the closest we can get to an image of a gorget. And it's that little white symbol on the chest of the hummingbird. And it became the protection in the armor that the French wore when they went into battle here and wherever. They would hang it over their throat to protect them. And it's a symbol of protection, but it's also the teachings of the hummingbird, which is to open our heart to joy. And that truly happens. And sometimes it has to happen through pain and illness and near-death experiences, but bring that opening to our heart. And that's what we're going to dance for today as well. That opening of our own heart to joy. Much beyond happiness, there is joy that only the hummingbird knows and can help us with. And so feel yourself being the hummingbird. And Pamela's going to play the music. Are there any questions before we start the music? She's going to mute everyone and then play the music for us. Does anybody have a question or anything they need before we dance? Okay, I'm going to switch my camera and let's dance. Hummingbird is shining in the light, chirping, squeaking, whistling, buzzing with delight, opening our heart to joy. Stillness in flight, hovering in place, 3 toes forward and 1 backward, vocalizing courtship dives into high-speed spirals with harmonics. co-evolving with nectar-bearing flowers and pollinating those who are seen only by them. Tight, co-evolutionary association in a mutualistic network. Kissing our spirit, brushing our hair, raising our frequency, and humming for integration. She was the first to wear the gorget. Take a look at your face and your eyes and your glow of the energy that you've created in your transformation as we dance together in community. And please share anything you'd like to about your dance, your experience in any way.
I felt all of you. I felt all of you dancing. I felt all of your hearts. I definitely felt the birds. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ki.
I've learned that opening up your aura and spreading it out, expanding your aura is how you connect. Letting your aura go out, that's basically your tentacles so that you can connect. Like we live in a linear world where we think linear, we worry about too many things. when we open up our hearts and we move that energy outside of us instead of pulling it back in, that's when we connect with everybody. And dance does it so well. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, Keith. Thank you for sharing. Mm.
Well, this is Freebird, and I will share that at first, I will admit I was very resistant for some reason. I absolutely adore the hummingbird, and I even have hummingbird medicine had come to me many years ago, and I had it tattooed on my shoulder to remind me that, every once in a while you just gotta pump that little bit of joy. You have to kind of tweak it a little bit. And so I found it interesting that at first I was like very resistant and even turning turning my camera on and getting up to dance. But boy, once I got started and just kind of tweaked, just kind of pumped that little bit of joy in and got started, the hummingbird medicine just kind of took off and I felt myself really open up and I was doing it with my eyes closed so that I could see the invisible flowers and found myself even giggling a few times and going, oh my gosh, why do I resist? What is the reason for this? And though I don't have an answer for it, I'm okay with that. And just knowing that sometimes you just have to get up and do it. And so I want to thank you very much for bringing the joy back in. And I'll pass it on the feather. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you, Freebird. And we have another little friend joining us here from my dog, a little frog friend, saying hello to everybody. And there's the puppy coming to rescue the frog. So playfulness is much appreciated. Anybody wants to share, just open your mic and speak however you'd like to.
A cup of tea.
No, just water. Oh, hi. Yes, I wanted to share this dance took me straight back to a dream I had about 7 years ago. And it was a dream about Hummingbird. And Hummingbird actually danced with me and kept pecking my head in that dream. And it was so light and so beautiful. And this time, as we danced, all the invisible things that only Hummingbird can see and smell and taste, that was the most amazing experience. I really felt I could smell flowers and it was beautiful. Thank you so much, Gail. And the music is wonderful too. So I'm complete. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Yacha. Yeah, let's don't wait to get pecked on the head. Let's go ahead. No, Hummingbird. Yeah.
Yeah,
who
this
else?
is Tree Child. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound good.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, it was really amazing just being Hummingbird, and it took me back to spring and summer and the little bleeding heart plant that I have right outside my window. That's the first place the hummingbirds come in the springtime. And I just can really feel that sensation of drinking the nectar. And I was curling my tongue and, feeling hummingbird beak. And I was feeling that wing beat and sometimes sitting still on a branch and feeling the little 3 toes forward and 1 toe back and having the heart opening, the sense of connection and the longing for love that I feel was just feeling met in that moment of hummingbird love. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Tree Child. Did a great job of becoming one with the hummingbird. Anyone who wants to share, just open up and speak.
I'm grateful to have this chance to connect with Hummingbird. My most profound in-person experience with Hummingbird was really near feeders that people had put out, and it was around their the aggression they were experiencing in competition for the feeder. And that experience was so counter to everything I've been told is traditional wisdom around the hummingbird. And so I've just kind of been a little bit hung and stuck about hummingbird energy because of my personal experience and what I felt I should know. So it was good to come into this with an open mind. I want to share that I have this balloon sculpture hanging from a Mardi Gras party I was at this weekend. And it just made the perfect kind of passion flower, you know, all of the tendrils of the flower. So I really enjoyed getting all up in there while I was hummingbirding. Another experience I had, I noticed I was dancing in a slight kind of crouch. And I think it was so I could sort of feel stable with all of the spinning. But eventually I felt quite cramped and really came into full expansion through my hips and got much taller, and it felt so much better. And I felt like that was part of the experience I was supposed to have. I put on the turtle shell necklace that I have because I felt it allowed me to connect with the gordita shape you were talking. And this is I wear when I want to be reminded about the role of vulnerability. So sometimes I wear it with the outside shell as protection, and sometimes I wear it with the underbelly of the underbelly showing to be more open. And so it felt appropriate to this experience. And it wasn't really until I finished and was standing and you were reminding us to feel our experience and be in the moment of acknowledging it that I really had an overwhelming experience of joy and completeness and a little bit of tearful, like that sort of gasp of remembering. And I'm grateful and complete. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chris. That is just really beautiful transformation that you've described. And I love your flower that you danced with there and all that you shared. Yeah, you reminded me the human archetypal pattern of the warrior does have a little trouble with connection because they are instinctually programmed to compete rather than connect. And that's the warrior energy that has to be acknowledged and, you know, inappropriate choice. So it's all good. Yeah, that sometimes if we're, you know, competing for food, we may need to ask a warrior archetypal pattern person to help us to be on our team if we're reconcile those opposites, that energy, and reconciling the opposites. And I wonder if the hummingbirds have those two opposite patterns in their instinctual choices as well. And of course, I'm happy to help anyone who needs to find their archetypal pattern and know which they are naturally. But thank you for sharing them. Yeah. Anybody else, just open up and speak.
I'm
Sorry, Stephanie, do you want to go first?
okay, thank you. I want to express my thanks to everyone for sharing here, and Gail for having this opportunity, and the hummingbird for their medicine. All I want to say is that yes to what everyone has said, but I feel much more in balance in my open heart right here with all of you, and I thank you. I'm complete.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's beautiful.
All clear to go?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I was looking forward to coming, but technical problems, so I'm very late. But I love the thought of you working with a hummingbird and the whole idea of that vibrancy and that frequency. And there was one little story I thought I would bring, because to do with the electromagnetic forces, partly what you were just saying about the patterns. And what I discovered was when you look at a plant and it's rooted to the earth, it's got a certain negative electrical charge. And that goes right up the stem, up to the flower. But when it gets to the flower, that charge gets really strong. And because it's radiating out this beautiful electrical energy, then the hummingbird comes along and it wants to get to the nectar. But the thing about a hummingbird and most birds, including bees, they're a positive charge. So they turn up in this field that's an electrical field, and they turn up with their positive charge, and they take the nectar, and the music of the hummingbird's field changes. As soon as that positive comes in, everything goes neutral. Positive and negative, they equate each other in a moment. And the bird feeds, and as it leaves, it changes again the electrics of the flower, and it's still very, very light with no more charge to it. So when another hummingbird comes along, there isn't the signal to say, hey, look, I've got all this wonderful nectar. And instead of which it tells the hummingbird that's coming along, you may have a positive charge, but there's no food for you there. Come back later. I thought it was such a lovely story that I remembered David Attenborough telling that story that they discovered about these electromagnetic fields. And I thought it's like music. Some people, you have a conversation with them and it feeds you and electrically and it balances everything out together. And other people, it doesn't balance, but it doesn't matter. For some, one has food and for some, one doesn't. And then later on you come back and it does work. And there's no judgment in it, you know. I just love the story of it.
Thank you, Ursula. That's a beautiful story. And so there's a little trickster in the hummingbird. I didn't realize it had some trickster energy. Very sweet.
I'll pick up. It was interesting timing because I didn't know what was happening this hour or what was going on, and I just kind of showed up. And it was like right as it was starting. So I just find the synchronicities always so interesting. And there's a few groups that it doesn't matter where I am. I come in, I join, and it feels like home. It's that partly of that grounding energy. And when we were doing the hummingbird and the movement and everything, that's how I've felt the last 12 days. In 12 days, I've done 4 countries. I went through 8 states. I went again, left Ontario, crossed through United States, crossed through Mexico and into Guatemala. And while we were driving, I was gathering that nectar from everywhere. And it's like I was kind of like zigzagging in a sense, like I was hitting just the way the borders are are in the States. It's interesting because I went Indiana and Kentucky and Missouri, Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas. Another synchronicity. You mentioned the Mardi Gras, Christina. I just happened to be there the day before it finished. And I had no idea Mardi Gras was going on. I had forgotten about it. And it was like, oh my God, we're here like high time. So enjoyed 24 hours of Mardi Gras energy. We stopped at the Ohio River to collect water. Well, actually, before I left my home, I collected water from Lake Ontario. I collected water along the Ohio River, then the Mississippi River, then where the rivers meet and converse. I gathered water from there, then the Gulf of Mexico. And now that I'm in Guatemala, I'll be gathering water from here. And to me, that's like the nectar and the buzzing. And it's one of the few birds that's all over the world. The hummingbird to me is joy. And that's kind of what I was doing, was fluttering all over the place the last 12 days, collecting and grabbing the nectar, and all these experiences from all over. So this was just kind of like a really neat way to do that, but also to ground me in the here and in the home, where I am at my mom's for the next couple of weeks until I take off again to do some more traveling. So it felt really, really lovely. So thank you. It's good to be here with everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. And if you would like to tell us more about the Quetzal, since you're in its homeland, we'd be happy to hear about that too, either now or at the fire gathering this Sunday, whatever's good.
I'll wait till probably Sunday. We can continue with what's going on here.
Okay, that sounds
Thank
great.
you. Thank you for the opportunity, Gail.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. Who else would like to share? I got about 10 more minutes.
Well, I came in very late, Gail, because I've just had things to do this evening. But as I came in and I connected straight away with this very powerful energy, and I really went somewhere else very deeply, very quickly, and I didn't want to come back when I heard your voice speaking. And it was just amazing. It was like a vibrational gentleness, the music, and I was watching you all dance for a while, but then I just felt I needed just to rest in it, and it was just such an amazing energy. So thank you. I'm glad I came in when I did.
Oh yeah, thank you for sharing that, Lynn. That's beautiful to see that we can just be stepped into and share the energy in
It
such
was the flow of you all and the music, and that was wonderful music. Thank you.
oh yeah, that's what we create when we come together in community. That's it. Yeah, thank you all for acknowledging that and feeling it and sharing it. Yeah. And watch this energy flow with you through the rest of the day. I've had a grocery store noticing that people were just looking at them differently and realizing that they have an uncommon energy that they're carrying after coming together in these ways. Anyone else is welcome to share.
Oh, Gail, this is Ari. Yeah, thank you for that. I was kind of having to move around a little bit, but I did definitely do some dancing in the kitchen. And like the other woman was saying, I forget your name. It had me standing straighter and just had me really opening up my chest and arms out and following you. And that felt really, really good and very connected. So thank you.
Good, Ari, thank you. Dancing in the kitchen, that's the best. Cooking and dancing together is my favorite way to do it. Yeah. So all the way around.
Yes, indeed. Then you're putting that love into the food as you're dancing around. That energy's in there. That's healing. That's the best.
Yeah, yeah. And I love.
And we appreciate you guys being here and holding the masculine energy that protects and helps and brings balance to these gatherings as well. Thank you for that. Anyone else want to share?
I did want to ask a question
Okay.
because I was pondering about the kingfisher and also this beautiful bird, and I was thinking, I wonder if they respond to the cycles of the moon. And I thought maybe you might know because you've done a lot of work on the moon, haven't you, and the moon cycles.
We are people of the moon. Yeah, the woodlands people are people of the moon. The Anastasia. And of course, we come together to bring balance on the earth. And I do feel like the birds have that in their programming, their instinctual acknowledgments, know that if we leave lights on at night, we can actually interfere with their migration and their patterns and confuse them, because they are flying with the light of the moon and the natural energies. So I imagine if we can get in their way, sort of in that way with our artificialness, our convenience consumerism, that there are probably many ways that we affect them without realizing.
If you're still speaking, we can't hear you.
Well, I don't know why that would be. I was saying that they they must follow the patterns of the moon and use the moonlight in their migration, because we can confuse them with our artificial outside lights at night. So we can interfere with them, and they must be using the moonlight and the energy of the moon in their migration and in their patterns, and in the information they need in order to do what they need to do. So definitely we need to be aware of that. And I know that there is a very ancient symbol from the mounds and the woodlands people that is of a beautiful bird. So the bird spirits were a big part of what we came in with. And that's a good question to spark, what information might come to us that takes us deeper into that sharing and that balance of energy with the moon and the birds and the spirit. I know we can all feel it in our own spirit. And you also reminded me, Ursula, thank you, that we are doing dream work for the collective this Saturday at 4 p.m. on my Zoom. So let's all watch our dreams. Anytime your dream is in a public place, you're dreaming for the collective, and we want to bring all that together and see what kind of message the soul is telling us that the collective, the world soul, needs to hear, so that we can share those images and the
And it's curious, isn't it, that it's one of the few birds that's got associated with it a musical aspect of the humming. And I thought that's a lot to do with your emotions, the humming aspect, your nose and your throat. And it's like a yellow thing. And I thought, I put on the radio the other day, and it wasn't tuned in properly. So I heard this kind of boom, and I thought, gosh. And as soon as it was when I switched it off, I thought, oh, how lovely, it's still. And I thought, I wonder if the hummingbird is tied in with the frequency of the moon, because I'm sure the moon must be like that radio. It gives off a particular signal, and it's constant. You can't switch it off, and maybe it's stronger with a high tide, and maybe it's weaker with a lower. So what am I really saying when I put forward these ideas, And I'm thinking, maybe it's to do with moods and one's feeling life, that the hummingbird is more attached with that, that we are conscious of our feeling and emotional life tied in with the moon.
Actually, in my Jungian work, we use humming for integration. And that is a big piece of the puzzle that is left out in so many ritual and ceremonial experiences these days. They leave out the integration and leave people very unsettled and unbalanced and affected with unclear judgment, and there's no integration. So we can be a good example if we choose to, and do a little integration with our dance today, and maybe hum our way into our gratitude song. Is there any chance that Yelcha might lead our humming? Would you lead us in a group hum and everybody open your mic or not, whatever you're comfortable with. But I'd love it if you'd open your mic and we can all hum together and
I
integrate
will try.
together.
Yeah, I will try, Gail, but I have a terrible cough still. So if I switch off, it's because. Okay. Okay.
Gratitude song before, and I love it. Beautiful integration. I hope to see all of you on Sunday right here in the same room for the opening fire at 1 p.m. Eastern, my time, and the room stays open until 6 or 7 in the evening, my time. There's all kinds of presentations coming along, so come and go whenever you feel like it, and join the fire at 1, and bring your own fire if you have a fire. We'll welcome you into the fire. We're actually bringing together the 8th fire ashes of 13 people in this gathering, and if you want to hear more about that, Claudia can tell you more about that 8th fire than I can. So we will end our recording.
Is that the same Zoom link?
Same Zoom link as this one. Yeah. Yeah. Good question,
Okay,
Trish.
good to know. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, feel free to come. Pamela, you want to go ahead and end our recording, and then if anybody else has questions, we'll try to answer them. Can you stop the recording?